All right. Well, welcome to our final, I can't believe it's our final mix and match um, class. Today we're going to talk about it's only been a couple of weeks because we had to switch around some dates. We talked a little bit about seaming, and I'm going to follow up with that a little bit, and then we're going to talk about our border. And I've got some ideas for you there. But before we start, I want to share in class this morning. Let's see. I want two people came and they had finished their blankets.
Oh, get out.
This is
Oh,
one. Is
Oh,
that amazing?
oh,
it's
nice.
beautiful.
It came out so pretty.
Absolutely gorgeous.
And she just is in love with it. And she just held it the whole time. It was so cute. I know. I
Should
think she
be.
ended up doing 13 strips. And I think she had a total of she had four colors, a black, kind of a pale grayish white, maybe five colors. Um, a medium gray and then another gray, and just mixed them all up. So
There's some
Great.
simplicity, but yet
yeah,
such wonderful detail too. It's just
exactly.
beautiful.
And she had the best time. So that was one. And then the other one, chose one
One
color.
color.
And I
Oh,
think that is stunning too.
So beautiful.
It's just,
oh,
she's like, I don't ever want to see this color again
Yeah,
in my hands, but
yeah.
it really did. I thought it just came out beautiful.
Yeah.
it sure
You're
did.
surprised how much detail you can still see with all the different
You
colors,
really
one color.
can.
You
Yeah.
can
And
still
I
see
was
it. Yeah.
trying to, I mean, you can really see the texture in the stitches. And so she opted not to do anything that had two colors in it. She focused a lot more on texture and bobbles and things like that.
Mhm.
Um, so she
Right.
was thrilled with it too. So I was really surprised because they didn't tell me they had finished all of their strips because I, in fact, have not finished my strips.
I
But
joined
they
in.
had. So I wanted to share that because I was so impressed. So, I had big plans. I was gonna have all these things done, but I got a little further than, we talked about seaming our strips. So I actually have
Oh,
seam
nice color.
beginning to be seamed enough that I can show you how to do the border. But seeing theirs today really inspired me. So um I'm going to keep looking at
Really
those
pretty.
pictures and hopefully finish mine. So I did want to talk a little bit about. I talked last time about steaming your strips to help. Okay, they're going to just growl. Hey,
We can't hear them.
you
No,
can't
can't
hear
hear
them.
him.
Oh my God, it's all I can hear. It's a special game called Bitey McBitey Face. There's no other word for it. It's very descriptive, and that's what they're doing. Of course, right behind me. So I'm going to turn it this way. So I had steamed, and I'm starting to get, you can see it right here at the top. It's going a little wonky. And that mostly has to do with the different tension in the two different squares. And I think, there was a little error here. I think maybe I changed hook sizes. So I think my tension is really different here. So I sat there today in class and we said, well, I'll probably take this part out. And I said, no, I'm not. Not taking anything out.
Oh,
I am going to continue on. I'm going to add my border and then I'm going to block the whole thing and straighten out what I can. And I'm going to call it a day. So I'm going to continue with my seaming.
I call
And
mine the imperfect perfect blank.
exactly. And I kind of picked I laid out what colors are coming next. So I at least have that planned. So I can finish strips and add them as I go. So um, just so you know, this may happen even when you steam it. And I would say I'm getting a much better result here because I started doing my mattress stitch a little closer together. So there's less gaps between the two stitches. I was going a little further and getting a little bit of pulling here. So once I started to go a lot closer together, I'm getting a much better matchup and it's not pulling on either fabric. So I'm pinning sections as I go and making sure I'm doing stitches a little bit closer together. And I started to do that on this one, and I'm already getting a much
better.
all the way across, it's much better. So
Pam, did you steam each strip separately?
I
or
did.
Okay.
I did. And then I started seaming with our cast on, and I have left my bind off with extra yarn because I'm not sure where it's going to end up. So I know roughly what length I want it to be, but if one of my strips, the pattern needs to end at a certain point, I may either extend or take off a couple of rows as I go. So that's how I'm approaching it. So this
That's a
one,
good
obviously, I'll
idea.
have to make a little bit longer, but all good. But the rest of them are going to be roughly this length. So, just work on it as I can. So,
Sure.
and there's no reason you can't do all the stages at once. Make strips, seam them, steam them all at one time. So, so as I do more here, I'll steam it and then join it so that I keep a consistent tension with it. And then
Mhm.
when all said and done, I'll block the whole thing. I'll probably give it a wash because it's been on the floor. And then it smells so good. And I'll do all of that and really smooth it out the best I can. So, and I'll post a picture of that when that's all done too. Okay, so that was just a little follow-up on seaming. As far as finishing with the border, in the book, she really just adds 2 rows of single crochet and calls it a day. And then you can add embellishments from there. You can add tassels if you want to the corners. You can, it's your blanket. You can do anything you want. But depending on how much is going on in your blanket, you may want to keep it pretty simple. So for example, I'm going to pull up one of the pictures here. So this one that she did, she thought ahead and she began and ended with this color strip and then used that color to do the borders up the sides. You're actually not doing a single crochet border here, but you could. I'm going to show you options for both. So it just kind of frames the whole thing in that one particular color, which I like. Hello, George. This is the newest puppy, George. You want to say hi,
Oh,
George?
puppy. Hi, George.
George?
So cute.
He's a cutie.
Oh my
Have
gosh.
you helped with this project? Yes, you have. Have you run away with this project? Yes, you have. You cannot have the scissors. Yeah, you just get down. All right. Sorry about that. He's so darn cute. Same thing with this one. She began and ended with the dark green and
Oh,
that same
same.
dark green. So it frames it. So keep that in mind as you're putting it together. That might be something you want to do. Unless you have something that's one of these was very different. Okay, so this one has all kinds of colors. And she used it's like a gray that she used, and I think or a gray blue, and it happens to be the one that's in this stripe right here. So she used one of her accent colors to put the borders on the side, and then added pom-poms to the end, which is
Different
cute
colors.
and really fun. And she used just the accent colors that she had. So there's really no right or wrong way to do this. It's just what you want to do to add to your blanket. That being said, I'm going to show you how to do the single crochet border, but I wanted to share with you, there are a couple of other things that you can do. And we have both of these books available in the shop. They're also available in the library. They're both by Edie Ekman. They're both crochet border books, entire books on crochet borders. So they range from ornate to, let's see, let me find a simple one. So, after you do the single crochet that I'm going to show you, if you feel like it just needs a little something more, like this one is actually pretty simple. It's just a wider border that adds a little more detail. you can absolutely do that. Okay. You can use one color, you can use many colors. Marcia, the one who had done the solid color, actually thought she might add a little bit bigger border with some detail in it to add some interest. Just to kind of bring it all together. Oh, here's another one that is relatively simple. It could all be done in one color. It could be done in multiple colors.
That's
So
cute.
just know that that's available. Again, these are by Edie Ekman. And here's another, this one has been around forever. I've had this book forever. This is one of her newer ones. And it's just more crocheted borders from ornate to as simple as you want. She has them charted and written round by round. So however you like to read a pattern, she's got it for you. And she's a wonderful, wonderful crochet designer. These can also, just as a side note, can be added to any knitted blanket as well. You can add a crocheted border to any knitted blanket. So these are a lot less busy and could just add some interest to it. So that's my little side note for that. Okay, let me switch to the camera here. Like this, and let me zoom out a little. I might not be able to zoom out too much. Okay, so where you're going to start is when you're adding a border, you're going to start with the right side facing you. Let me flip the camera around. It's freaking me out. Hold on. There we go. You're going to start with the right side facing you. And I'm going to show you, if you just want to add it to the side, what that can look like. And if you want to go around the corner, how you manage a corner. I'm going to show you both options here. So I'm going to turn this around so I can go the correct direction. And I'm going to use a contrast color here. I'm going to use the lighter gold here so you can really see how it lines up against something really dark. I'm getting a twitch in my eye from these dogs running around. Every time they crash into something, I'm like, oh my God. Mostly because my husband's not here to clean it up, and that means I have to do it. Okay. All right. So let's zoom in. Okay. So I like to start with the slip knot on my hook. Leave yourself a tail long enough to weave away. I have not woven away any of my ends yet. So don't worry about that. You can do it after. And then what I'm going to use is the row, I did a foundation single crochet row, which was a chain plus a single all-in-one. So what it does is it leaves you a nice row of chains at the bottom. If you did a chain and then a row of single, you're still going to have a nice row of chains across the bottom. It should be the same. So it's those chains that I'm going to go into. I'm not guessing where to put the stitches, and they're going to be nice and evenly spaced. We might have a little bit of gapping here, but you'll see that it's going to turn out okay because the stitches above that are a little different. All right. So I'm going to start, if you're just doing it across the bottom, I'm going to start in the corner. I'm going to find, there's my corner space. So it might not be the actual first chain, because if your stitch provides like a little corner space, go ahead and put it in the corner space. And all I did was I just dove in and started a single crochet. So I had a slip knot on my hook. Get my tail out of the way here. I'm not slip stitching to join or anything. I'm just going in, grabbing the yarn, yarning over, pulling through. And then I'm going to work across with a single crochet going into underneath both legs of those chains across the bottom here. All right. And don't make this too tight. You don't want it to pucker in. Just try to keep an even loose tension. And I'm just going underneath both those chains. And the best part about this is when I get across one strip and I go to the next strip, the way it's going to really kind of close that gap and bring it together. Come on, there we go. So sometimes when I'm going underneath both legs, I'm actually going into, in this particular pattern, it was a skipped chain. So I'm actually just going into the hole right there. But it's all gonna come out fine, I promise. Which is mostly what I wanted to show you, is that you can't go wrong with this. No matter what kind of border you want to put on, just putting a row of single crochet on is how you're going to start any border. Even if you want to get fancier, you're always going to start with a row of single crochet. That's the same as if you're adding a crocheted border to a knitted blanket. You would go around all the edges with a row of single crochet, because then you can build from that easily with any stitch. All right, so I'm coming across to where, and I haven't even taken my where I started the mattress stitch. I always start one stitch in, so I haven't even closed up that gap yet. I'm just going to go right over it. Go into the last stitch here. Go into the first one here. Let me just go past it just a little bit, and then you're going to see how it smooths it out. Okay, so I'm going to lay it down here. So it just smooths out that little gap. Like I still have the gap here, but it's already started to fill in the gap here. Still looks a little wonky. So which is why she recommends you do a second row of single crochet. So I would go all the way across to my end. I would stop in the corner. I would chain one and turn and come back, which is what I'm going to do right now. So you can see what 2 rows looks like and what a difference it makes. Now, if you wanted to add a fancier border or a taller border, you could go in and do a row of double crochet at this point. I'm just going to do a row of single, kind of following the pattern. But at this point, I could chain 2 or 3 and do doubles. And I'm just going to work singles back across these singles, which always goes much faster. I can't believe we've been working on these a whole year. I had high hopes I was going to be a lot further along in this, although I do have a lot done. But when you start out, it's like, oh, I have a whole year. Okay. And go to the last single, and then I'm going to flip it over to the front so you can see the difference. I think it looks really nice.
Yes, it does.
It really fills in anything sort of wobbly. Even though these are not completely even, the top looks even, and it just kind of matches the shapes of the stitches. And I think it looks great. So from here on, I could do anything. You could do anything. You could add any kind of additional stitches. You could add some, I think it would be cute to have these puff stitches, but who has that kind of time? It would be really fun to do puff stitches all the way across. But that's just if you're going to go across the ends. let me cut here. And if you're going to go all the way around your blanket, I would approach it a little differently. So anytime you're going to be going around a corner, I never start in the actual corner. I either start right before the corner, maybe, depending on your pattern, an inch or so, or I start right after the corner. And here's why, because if you're going to be going all the way around and you come back, you don't want your join to close your round to be in the corner. It can be kind of fussy and a little clunky. It's much easier to slip stitch to join, or however you're going to join, which is what I'm going to do, on a straightaway as opposed to a corner. You want to be able to do the corner stitch, and so all four corners will look the same. So I'll show you how to do a corner stitch, but hey, take it outside, fellas. But I don't ever start right in the corner, even though that's sometimes where you're drawn to. Start right before or right after. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to start right before and show you how to work a corner stitch. All right. So let's see. I'm going to start. I feel like I can hide anything really behind this puff stitch. So I'm just going to work my single crochet. All the way across. And it's so nice when it's the same color because it really just blends right in and evens everything out. All right, so here's my last stitch. All right, so when you're going to make a corner, you can't just turn it and go because it needs some room. It needs some room to move. So what we're going to do is in the end stitch here, I've put one stitch. I'm actually going to put 3 stitches in the same space. So there's 1, 2, which ends up being kind of my center of my corner, and 3, which really helps us turn to go the other direction. So now I'm just going to flip it. So I've got 3 stitches in this last stitch. And now I'm picking up along a side that doesn't have chains. So I'm going to be guessing just a little bit, and I'm going to go over my tail here. And I'm going to do a couple and see how it looks, and then decide if they're too far apart, if they're too close together. What's nice is that they're the same color, so that's going to help a lot in this part. And it's going to, for this one in particular, it's going to be the same color going all the way up the side. Let me just do a couple more and we'll take a look here. Okay. So it gives you a nice rounded corner, and then it just finishes off this edge. So instead of looking kind of wonky and bumpy, it's going to be nice and straight. So I would do this all the way around. And then when I come here to my beginning, I would slip stitch to join, chain 1, and go back the other direction. Or you could chain 1 and continue on and do 1 more round. I'm going to turn around. You know what? I'm not. I'm going to keep going on the front side. I'm just going to cut my yarn here and show you how you go into a corner space having done a corner space. So let's pretend we've gone all the way around the blanket. All right, so let's make some more doubles here or singles here. Single. 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 Okay, so I'm here where I started. Here's where my first single was. So I'm going to go underneath both legs, slip stitch, so pull all the way through, and that will close it up. So it doesn't look, if I were trying to do that in the middle and then, or in the corner, it would be a little clunky. And then I'm going to chain one to build up my side, and I'm going to go back into the same space with another single and do a second round of singles. I'm definitely in favor of doing, now whether you do singles or doubles after this is fine, but doing at least the row of single and then either a second row of single, or you could do half doubles after this, after that first row. All right, so when you come, and I should have told you this to begin with. When we made those 3 stitches into the corner, which were right here. Here's 1, 2, and 3. The center stitch, here's 1, 2, and 3. The center stitch becomes the actual corner stitch. So when you're coming around a second time and you're making a new corner, you're going to make it into that center stitch. So as you put in that second stitch, you could put a marker there so you're not hunting for it. Okay, so coming around with my second round, 1, 2. So here was the first stitch of my previous corner. Now I'm to the corner stitch. Let me take that out. And I'm going to put 3 in this spot. 1, 2, and 3. And then if I were going to be continuing on, I would mark that middle one, so I know where my corner is. And by putting 3, you just get a nice rounding of the corner, nothing puckers, and you could continue on. So let's see what that looks like. So it really finishes off. It makes everything look nice and neat. Your eye isn't drawn to where that first row is, where it's a little clunky. Your eye is really drawn to the nice finished edge. And it lays flat because we've put 3 in that corner, and it allows us to go around the bend like that.
Nice.
So that's how you would do a corner. So from here on, you could just do the 2 rows of single and call it a day, which would be fine. You can add a row of double, half double. You could add any of these textured stitches that you wanted to. You could change colors and add, a row of single in one of your other accent colors and then finish it off with another. So you can decide how much of a border. If your blanket feels a little small and you want to add, you could absolutely do it this way. You could add a larger border if you wanted it to be a little longer. You could add a larger border. Let me turn off the screen here. You could add a larger border to the ends this way, because remember, your blanket really goes this way. Or if I wanted it a little wider, I could add just a wider border this way. It doesn't have to be the same all the way around. You can decide. So that's what I have on borders. Does anybody have any questions?
That seems like the nicest way to go. Simple.
Yeah, I think that was particularly Marcia said, she's like, I say that I want to add a little detail. Chances are, though, I'm going to do 2 rows of singles and call it a day. But you can always come back to it. I mean, it's, there's not, you don't have to take anything out. You just can add to it if you want to later. So, but take the time. We spend a lot of time. Take the time to do at least the 2 rows of single, because I really do think it makes a huge difference.
And it keeps them sturdy as well.
It does keep it sturdy, yes. And it kind of finishes off those wonky ends and just helps it lay flat. particularly because you've got different tensions going on across. It just gives it something to hold on to.
I just recently tore out a border that I had put on a small rug for my son. And they were laying it on the floor and the corners are curling up. It was like one of my first. And I had
Yep.
like done 3 or 4 rows of this border, and I'm like, no, I can't even stand looking at it anymore. So he brought
I
it
know it.
home and
Yeah,
I took it out and it's nice and flat now.
exactly. Yep. So, if you're using a really chunky yarn on something, sometimes maybe those 3 stitches aren't enough. You could add 5. Just make sure it's an odd number. It just gives you more stitches, more room to round the bend without it being too sharp or pulling on it. So just make it an odd number and it'll work. Yeah.
And when you so you said you'll wash it and to what do you call it?
Freshen it.
What's that? Freshen it up.
Freshen
So
it up.
you wash it by hand.
I'm using an all acrylic yarn. I'm going to toss it in like a pillowcase, or
Oh,
if I
okay.
have a lingerie bag big enough, and I'm making a smaller size, so it probably will fit in a mesh bag. And I'll toss it in and wash it that way. I won't let it, I'll put it in something just because the first time. Second
Like
time,
on delicate?
just because I want to make sure I've secured everything the way I'm supposed to and not forgotten anything.
Oh, uh-huh.
And then I'll lay it all out. I won't put it in the dryer first time. I'll lay it all out and smooth and just make sure I like how everything is. Smooth it out and let it dry.
Okay. Yeah, to block it. And
Exactly. It won't need a ton of blocking, mostly because we've steamed the strips ahead of time, which allowed us to seam it better. I think if you don't steam them first, because my tension changed a little bit between them, and it allowed me to make that work a little bit better. And I was just happier working on it when they were steamed. It didn't feel like they were still kind of the messy things that have been in the bottom of my bag for a year. So
you just have a hand, like a little hand steamer, and you
can use a hand steamer. I used my iron.
Oh, okay.
Got a dish towel, like a cotton dish towel, really, really wet, laid it over the top, and then hovered my steam iron over it.
Oh, okay.
That was really all it took. To do 3 strips, it took me about 5 minutes. It does not have, you will be surprised how quickly it'll
yeah.
And then I just let them be damp for a little, let them dry, and then they were fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Will you still be here when I finish this in about 2 years?
Absolutely. I can't go anywhere. You know how much money I owe the bank on that shop?
Oh my God.
Oh, nice. So it's I
No,
appreciate
he'll
your
be here
work.
for you any time. Oh,
And all
Okay.
of these, all of your videos for this class throughout the year is going to stay on your.
yep. Yeah, we
Okay.
still have the videos from the first 2 years classes.
Oh,
We keep
fabulous.
them, and we keep them on the website, so you can always find them. It'll always be under Project Monday 2024. We never
Okay.
get rid of it. So don't feel
Great.
like you only have 28 days to finish
Yeah, right.
this. No,
This will be helpful.
they'll
Okay.
be there for you always. And we're always, anytime you need help, you come in or give us a call and we can do something over Zoom together. It's not a
Oh, that's awesome to know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
absolutely.
Your instructions are very detailed and very close
Oh,
up and
thank you.
great. I think they're
Yes.
great.
I really I credit teaching first grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
when
that's
I
good.
write things out, Beth will say she and I approach a class very differently, and she's got plenty of notes, but it's a totally different approach. And I'm like, all right, I want something visual, I want something hands-on, I want like some sort of mnemonic, because that's how I learn, it's how I like to teach. So
Yeah. Great. Great.
absolutely. All right.
Right.
Well, good luck.
Okay.
Please let me see your blankets when they're finished.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All
You
right.
have a helper, Ingrid.
Yes, but there's a cat
Oh.
too.
Oh,
She's a
are they
boy.
helping?
so-
Are they helping you recover?
Oh, No, they both want things.
Um,
Uh,
See, they're not going to let you get quiet.
my helpers are all sleeping. Can you see that?
See, they're sleeping, Samson.
Can you see 'em?
Aw,
I don't know
that's
if
so
you can see-
cute.
Uh,
That's
Rudy
so
just
cute.
had- Yeah, they're snoozing.
Yeah. Mine won't be snoozing. They were in the crates too long today. So.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know those days. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So.
Yikes.
All right. Well,
you
I
again.
hope you enjoyed. So next year, which is just a month away, we're doing it a little different. We're gonna do for crochet, I'm gonna do 2 crocheted sweaters over the year.
Okay.
So we're gonna do 6 months to crochet a pullover sweater and then 6 months. So that'll be January through June, and then July through December, we'll do a cardigan.
Like the
And
Jethro
then
cardigan?
what's that?
The Jethro cardigan?
No,
Those
we're
things?
going to be doing it's called the calendar cardigan. It's really it's a new pattern and I fell in love with it immediately. The hard part is finding something that's really teachable, that has things to teach instead of
Mhm.
here, make 100 granny squares. I'll see you in 6 months, that kind of thing. So, and then the second crochet club we're going to do is going to be a Tunisian crochet club. And we're doing a
Oh.
Tunisian sampler shawl, which you don't have to do as a shawl. You can just come and learn the stitches. And I think the shawl has like 18 stitches in it. So if you want to learn more about Tunisian crochet, you can do it on a very small scale. So
That's cool.
yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And something I can keep up with. I've learned a lot. So we're going to try that. And I found these two crochet sweaters that we get a lot of people who want to try. There's so many new patterns out there that it seems intimidating, but I think we've got a couple of good ones we're going to do. So
Great. That's exciting.
Sounds good.
all right, guys.
You.
Well, thank you.